What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network. It is great to be here with all of you today, 5:02 p.m. here on the East Coast on the 16th of February here in 2021. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. Gavin, we have a very exciting show in store for today, but first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Zach. Listen, we got a fantastic show today. We all know this guy. We all love this guy. If you've been to a lot of Sixers games, you know who we have here. But Zach, I'm excited. All right, I'm excited. I took a nap, so I make sure I can match the energy for today's show. All right, I still don't know if I'm fully energized yet, but I'm ready to go. Zach, how you doing today?
You told me you took a good nap. I know last night's Sixers game kept us up awful late on the road in Utah. We will cover that, of course, in a little bit. But Gavin, I hope that nap is good enough because it is going to be a fun one as we now introduce the Sixers PA announcer of 24 plus years, Mr. Matt Cord. Matt, it is great to be here with you today. Again, jokingly beforehand, we did ask for your height and country of origin because that is one of the more notable things that you do, or college, depending on which player that we are breaking down. Of course, you are one of the most notables for the way that Allen Iverson is pronounced here in the city of Philadelphia. But first of all, I got to ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Zach and Gavin. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. It's an honor to have you here. And I've been to many Sixers games before, Zach. I got a great chance to stand on center court and have my name announced by Mr. Matt Cord. So it's a crazy experience, Zach. I don't know. I can't even explain it.
Yeah, you know what, Gavin? It's been too long since I've seen you at a Sixer game. We gotta fix that, or we gotta get you back in. We gotta get everybody back in.
We're hoping for that too. It's been almost a year since that infamous Pistons game that would happen the same night that the NBA went on to its hiatus. But let's kick it off, though. Matt, I want to ask you first just a little bit of a background on yourself, how you got started in the industry. You also have a part-time job at another radio station. I'm sure that the viewers would also love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, Zach, I'm a DJ by trade, I guess. I've been in Philly radio for 30 years, working at Y100. It used to be a media in Conshohocken, WMMR, then FM, and now WMGK. Actually worked in Wilmington too at WSTW for a little bit. But so when I was at MMR, I got asked to be the PA announcer for, remember the Philadelphia Wings? I mean, they're still playing, but indoor lacrosse at the Spectrum. And they needed an announcer, and I said, I'll try. I don't know a lot about lacrosse, and made some mistakes in the beginning, fell in love with the sport, was the Wings lacrosse guy, PA guy for about 8 years. We won 3 titles. Then we moved over to the Wells Fargo Center. And at that time, Pat Croce had just became president of the 76ers. So Pat used to watch me at Wings games. And I worked with Pat in the radio side because he used to do the fitness tip on MMR. He's like, hey, I bought the Sixers. I want to make you the announcer. I love the way your energy at the Wings games and how you yell at the visiting team players when they get a penalty. So that's pretty much, I did have to audition. I didn't get it the first year. I came in second. And the next year, the guy who got it had to leave. So, it's been I guess I owe it all to Pat Croce, really.
24 years, you've seen a lot of great moments at this with the Sixers, going from AI to this current regime here with Joel Embiid. So I got to ask you, what is your favorite moment, or as covering the Sixers, what is your all-time favorite moment?
Yeah, see, that's hard, Gav. I mean, the 2001 run to the finals was pretty magical with AI and, going, beating. I mean, we beat Toronto in 7. That was a home win at Game 7 at home, which is nerve-wracking. And then the next series for the finals, it was Milwaukee, and that went to 7 at home. And then we go to LA for the finals, and they win that first game. And, LA hadn't lost in the finals at all. They were just rolling over everybody. So we beat them in that first game at the Staples, and then the second game was close. So then they're coming back to our building. And then the building just became, finals game in Philly in June with, Chris Rock to my right behind me and Chris Tucker to the left, and there's Jack Nicholson, and there's Farrah Fawcett, and every athlete in the world, and Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. So the amount of star power that that shows up for the finals, it's almost intimidating. Like everywhere you look, it's, oh my God, look at that. Look at that guy. And the fact that we did come up short, but there were some fun moments in those finals. Destiny's Child getting booed by the Phillies fans because the one girl, forget her name, it wasn't Beyonce or the other. It was Wendy. No, not Wendy. Well, anyway, she wore a Lakers jersey when they went out to do their halftime act. And I remember them standing right next to me. And it was Beyonce and the two other girls. And Beyonce, one of them had a Sixer jersey. One had like an NBA jersey. But the girl with the Lakers jersey, I looked at it and said, that's not a good idea. She's like, oh, no, they'll love me. Like, and that made headlines. Sixer fans booed Destiny's Child. And the boos kept growing louder and louder. So that was, stuff like that you don't realize in the moment that this is a national story, and I'm proud of our fans because we don't take crap from anybody. And, if you're coming on our court, even if you're playing at halftime and you're wearing a Lakers jersey, you're getting booed, that's Philly.
For sure it is. I mean, with the Eagles and Phillies, Sixers, everybody, Flyers included, get a taste of that from the Philly fans. One thing as well that I kind of said, Gavin, you touched on earlier, some of the favorite moments. That's how we were able to get dialed back to 2001. I do remember, I think it was 3 years ago now, after everything that Sixers fans have been through in the process, they hosted their first ever playoff game. I had a chance to be there against the Miami Heat. Of course, Embiid did not play in that one. It was a win. But I do have to ask you, what did it feel like returning to the playoffs, especially under this new, of course, Sam Hinkie and the Colangelo drama, everything that happened, game one against Miami at home in Philly? Just describe that atmosphere, how it felt for you at least. Yeah,
the playoffs are the best. I mean, the job is great, doing a PA job for an NBA team during the regular season. But when you get to the playoffs, that's why you're there, and it just gets amped up. And every possession, obviously we sell out no matter what, if it's playoffs or not playoffs. But when it's a playoff game and the knowledgeable fans here in Philadelphia, it's just, every possession is there, is like important. And people are on time. And a lot of times the regular season games, after halftime starts, a lot of people are still, on the concourse or in the bar drinking, and, but playoffs, man, people are into it. And it just amps up, and you get the national TV guys in and more press people and more requests for tickets on my end. So, yeah. But, you like you said, Zach, going through the process years and, not making the playoffs at all. I mean, I think it was 2015. When we played the Lakers, Kobe's last game, December 1st, I think we were 0-13, or we're going to set a record for the most losses to start a season. And we beat the Lakers and we stopped that streak. But yeah, so to go through that period where, we're not going to make the playoffs, we barely win. And then next thing, after a few years, we're back in the playoffs. It's a really neat feeling. And you don't know, playoff games are like, wow, are we going to win? Or, and another thing that's really cool is like you get that team in for, a 7-game series. So that the hatred builds up, like, oh, like you again, or the coach is like, God, he complains too much. And then you wait another game and then you got him again. And for my job, it's a lot easier because I by the time we are in our 5th or 6th game, like I know every player. I don't even have to look their number. I know so-and-so because he's wearing the Chinese sneakers, and I know so-and-so because he's always wearing that headband that weird way. Like, so you really, it makes my job easier too once you get into a 7-round matchup with a team.
Well, you talked about the hardship, the 9-win season. You go 9-67. You're dead last, and then I want to say the year after I come down there, my last time at a Sixers game on that we saw each other, Joel Embiid, I want to say Joel Embiid starts his run where he plays, I want to say, 25 games, and the whole trust the process. It started off as a thing he said, and you bought into it. So my question for you is, how is the effect of Joel Embiid's trust the process kept the city, believing in a team that once was a 9-win team to where they are
now? Well, the trust the process, that was Joe's thing. Like, he wanted that. He would always say it. Like I remember when he was out the first 2 years, so I never got to introduce him. So the year that he was coming back, his third year, I said, hey, I saw him at Made in America, the concert on the Parkway. And I said, how do you want me to introduce you this year? He goes, I get to introduce you. He goes, Joel, go with my middle name, Hans. I said, really? He goes, yeah, Joel, Hans, Embiid, because I like syllables as an announcer. So I'm like, all right, Joel, Hans, Embiid. And I kept, I see him about a month later, the first game of the season in the locker room. I'm like, you ready, Joel, Hans? He's like, no. I've changed it. It's going to be the process. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I legally changed my name. I'm like, no, and he was joking. But he's like, it's the process. Don't go with the Hans. And I didn't know what to do that first game because I was all ready for Hans. And I don't want to get in trouble, because then, there's like all our owners are there and their CEOs. And so I didn't do anything in the first game. And he scored a couple times and he kind of looked at me like, where's the process? And then after the game was over, we talked. And then I got, some other header, people that are higher up. And they're like, yeah, go with the process. So, and then I think the first year, every time he scored, I said, Joel, the process and beat. I only do the process for intro now. That's it. Once in a while, if it's like an amazing dunk and, we win the game, I'll throw in the process. But the process was supposed to be Hans. That was the original game plan. But, he's just such a special player and such a great person. And the stuff he's doing this season, I know you guys both watch a lot of hoops. It's mind-boggling, but what he's become, and the sky's the limit for this guy. I see him like he'll say, you know what, let's get this game over, and he just takes over a game. I mean, not many players can do that. I mean, think about it, and he's a good shot. Like whenever we get called, the other team has a technical, we have to shoot the tee. He's our guy that shoots the tee. But think about that. Like your center, your 7'2" guy is your JJ Redick at the line. Or used to be JJ Redick. We had JJ, but now it's Joel. Like that. He's our technical foul shooter is pretty remarkable.
No, I think I had my first reality check of how crazy it is for a center to be that good when Boban Marjanovic was first traded to Philly in that first game, and he completely bricked a free throw. And I'm like, that's right, 7'2" guys, 7'3", I guess, for Boban aren't supposed to have that light of a touch. So it's been crazy, and Embiid has really brought a different energy to this team. It's been what has kind of thrusted us into motion. Now looking at him atop the Eastern Conference, it's been a really solid start for the team this year. But for this Sixers team looking forward, what kind of feeling is it right now for you as like watching the players, kind of seeing that team chemistry? I get it's definitely different. We're going to dive into that in a little bit with no fans in the arena. But just what's the feeling around the team this year?
I think it's a really good feeling. It's relatively new too. Think about it. The starting five has only played how many games are we into now together? And
total 17.
Yeah, and they've lost 2 as a starting five, or actually 1 because Joe didn't play last night. So, and it's a new coach, right? And a completely new coaching staff, and a new general manager. And the fact that they're that usually takes a while to gel, no matter who you are. So I feel positive that we're that good, and we're still in first place in the East after losing 3 games. It's not a wide margin, but I think the more this team gels and the more they play together, it's just going to get better. Obviously, I think we're missing some players. I think not having Shake for the last few games really hurts coming off the bench. And there's still, Daryl's a genius when it comes to like he knows what's going on. Like he sits across from me now at games, so I get to watch him. And boy, talk about someone who's into the game. Like he's, the trade deadline's about a month away. I think he'll pull something's going to happen. I mean, I don't want to see anyone to go because I love everybody on the team. You build up these relationships with players and stuff. Like Mike Scott's my guy, and Furkan is like, I love saying his name. But it's a business. But I think, with Daryl and Doc, something's going to happen as far as maybe just a minor tweak here and there, and then sky's the limit for the playoffs. I think, Brooklyn scares me.
Well, you talk about Brooklyn. They were here a couple nights ago, and everybody, I feel like that's the most anticipated matchup. Brooklyn versus the Sixers. The Sixers are sitting in first in the East, and then you had the bad boys of Brooklyn. That's the new nickname I give them. I don't call them the Big Three, Zach. I call them the Bad Boys of Brooklyn.
I like that.
Bad Boys of Brooklyn, the Triple B. But
yeah.
every time they're on the schedule, we don't get the full recipe. We don't get the full matchup. We didn't have Steph Curry the first time. There was no Joel Embiid. Kevin Durant was out, and Kyrie Irving took his hiatus. Then you get James Harden with no Kyrie and no KD, but Joel Embiid was there. But I'm waiting for that. That's it. They scare me too, because I mean, the best three, the top 5 greatest scorers to play the game, or not of all time, but to play the game right now, all on one team. But my next question for you is, the Lakers are in town. What is it like calling or being a PA announcer of a game where LeBron James is in town?
That's fine. It's like a Steph game. It's like when Golden State comes to town, because these guys are bigger than life. They're just like LeBron is just. It's like everyone stares at him. You see guys on our team that are rookies in this, like LeBron, and he's just a regular guy. And then when fans are in the building, the thing that makes me kind of upset is like LeBron's so well loved all over the world that you get a lot of his fans coming to our games when we play whatever team he's on, whether it was Miami or whether it was Cleveland or the Lakers. So, I'd always be like, get these fans out of here. They go on the websites and buy the tickets for a lot of money. But, it's neat to see those guys come to town. Steph is super, into watching me do I don't know if you ever saw the video.
I think I did.
Was kind of calling the games, and so he'll stand there in front of me now and just because when I do my intros, I do the visiting team first, and they come out. It's nothing, no big fanfare at all. And then the lights go down, and then a big intro video runs. So there's about a good 45 seconds before I start my stuff. So most of the visiting team guys are trying to kill time. They've already been introduced. They're ready to start the game, and Steph always just comes right around the table and watches me do my thing, and he's like that. So now so there's some other guys and other teams that will do that too. I haven't had LeBron do it yet, but he's focused, man. That guy's once he gets introduced, he's we're playing the game of basketball.
Steph Curry is larger than life. You said it best. It's one of those where when you stand up, it's like players, everybody's like ooh and ah, and you're right. And I actually didn't know that Steph Curry comes around and when you're doing your intro. So that was cool to me. So it was funny, and the thing that was neat about it is as soon as he watched it, and then he high-fived me at the end, and you can find this on YouTube or whatever. I was like, oh, I wish I had a video of that. And I look behind me. Whenever Steph is on the court, everyone's got every move he makes is documented. There is 7 people behind me hey, you want me to send me mine? You want me to send me mine? Duh. The guy can go nowhere in his life or on a court where, he's dribbling with 2 balls. Oh my God, he's shooting from the tunnel. It was oh, that's right. I can get a video of Steph looking at me no matter where I was, So that's kind of neat. That just tells you what kind of status that guy has.
No, for sure. I can only imagine for a lot of the visitors, especially in the Western Conference, they're only here once a year to get the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, for the East, of course, in our division, you get to come 2 upwards of 3 times a year, depending on the scheduling and all that. But no, I think it's definitely a pretty cool experience. One thing, too, I wanted to note is I think it was Game 3 between the Raptors and the Sixers at home, Joel Embiid's windmill dunk.
Yeah.
The kind of environment that's for me, my most favorite game in the process so far. Playoff-wise. I'm curious to get some of your thoughts on that, just some of the energy of that game. I mean, of course, we all know how the series ended, but how that game went just was a really exciting one. I thought that night that the Sixers were the much more dominant team.
Yeah, Zach, that whole series was just, up and down, and fans were great, and obviously the way it ended. But yeah, Nick Nurse, I'll tell you, he was our fans, back to the Philadelphia fans. They weren't letting off on that guy at all. Every time he walked out, closer to where I sit in the middle, in other arenas, it's even we don't do it all the time now that we don't have fans. But when we played Boston, the very first game of the season, we have a little button we can push where we have pretend fans saying sucks, when I introduced the visiting team, Number 0, Jason Tatum, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. So anyway, their coach, Brad Stevens, was like, I really felt like I was in Philadelphia when I heard the fake fans saying sucks after each player was introduced. It really made me feel warm. Brad had a good sense about it. But yeah, I mean that series, our fans were getting under a lot of the Raptors, not only their coach Nick Nurse, but
Well,
by the way,
yeah.
Wendy Williams was the girl in Destiny's Child that wore the Lakers jersey. That's just kidding.
Wendy Williams? How is she doing? I know she didn't like being booed there, but
no, I'm sorry, Michelle Williams.
No,
here we go. Yeah, I'm all wrong. Destiny's Child. So Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams was the one that wore the Laker jerseys at halftime in 2001 and got booed. There you go. I just had to get that right.
Well, look, you don't that there's some things you just can't do. You can't go to an Eagles game wearing a Cowboys jersey, and you sure can't wear any opponent's jersey to a Sixers game. But let's talk about Boston real quick. You said the energy about Boston. I remember the year where the Sixers didn't beat Boston at all in the regular season, and then the next year, then you have the little personal battle between Marcus Smart and Joel Embiid. What is the atmosphere there when the Celtics are in town with those two guys just alone? Because Marcus Smart, the king of all flops, and then he shoved Joel Embiid, and everybody, once JoJo hits the ground, everybody in the stadium stands up and they're ready to jump the floor. So what's the atmosphere around that?
Well, you got to realize with Boston, unlike Toronto, I mean, there's history. Their series goes way back. Wilt days and Dr. J and Larry Bird. So both towns hate each other. Like Toronto, there's not much history. The only other time I think we played in the playoffs was 2001, where it went 7 games and Vince Carter missed that 3 at the end. It would have won it for him. Boston is like a rivalry. It's the Celtics. And like you said, Marcus Smart, he's one of those guys. You hate him if he's on the opposing team, but if he's on your team, you love me. Guy's an incredible defender. I mean, he does flop or whatever, but he's an incredible defender, and he hits shots. It's just like, you again. But yeah, that series, that was fun. And you saw like Joe, like the competitive part of Joe, where I'm not taking any flack from anybody. It was the same time, first time we played Utah with Donovan Mitchell. Like he went right after. Didn't matter. Joe doesn't care who you are. He'll respect you. And he and Marcus Smart, I see them after games now. They talk. They shit. They got a thing. They're cool with each other. But yeah, Boston. That series, I remember, Gab. That was crazy. And they're close. They're close by. It's like it's Boston.
Not for sure. I mean, across all the sports, I'd say outside of baseball, Boston and Philly tend to have quite the rivalry. I mean, Boston's been able to have the upper hand for the past few years. Possibly this year could be different. But one thing too, I was curious. Of course, you get the opportunity when things are normal with national broadcasts, getting to have Kevin Harlan, Mike Breen, a lot of other guys in town. I'm curious if you had any of your most memorable encounters with any of the national broadcasters while they're in town.
I've known Mike Breen since back in radio day. He used to be on FAN in New York. So, and Mike's he's the Knick play-by-play guy too. So we play the Knicks usually twice a year. So Mike and Clyde Frazier are always, we used to all eat in the same room before COVID, and sit down. Kevin Harlan comes to games a lot now. Marv Albert, I've gotten Marv to leave me radio station IDs where he's saying, "You're listening to Matt Cord on WMGK." Yes. Harlan's on my list. Doris Burke's wonderful. You get to see her. And then once in a while, you'll see Charles will be there, And that's fun to see Charles and talk to Charles, because he just says what's on his mind, and he remembers everybody. You know once he may not know your name, but he'll remember the fact that he just gives everybody the time of day. And then Shaq, has this big presence when he's there, and Reggie Miller, Reggie when he, because a lot of these guys that are now doing it, I actually got to call them when they played. And I remember I always see Reggie whenever I see him. I'm like, because he went to UCLA, but he always had me introduce him from his high school out in California, like Cal Poly High. I was like, why'd you always do that? He's like, I don't know, I just want to be different, but it's neat to see that. And now we see them more because we're getting more national games. During the process years, we were never on national TV. We always had the early game in the building. Or NBA TV now carries us a lot of games too. So it's neat guys that are actually doing the games.
Well, I remember in the process you're right. You could barely find a Sixers game on national television, and when they were playing a team that was going to destroy them. But ever since Ben Simmons came in, and I feel like when Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, those two guys stick out to me, is because that's when the turning point. You have Ben Simmons first, and then I want to say next year Jimmy Butler comes in with Tobias Harris and joins the crew. And I thought that was going to be the year where in June the Sixers were going to be partying down Broad Street. But we all know the bounces. I like to call it the travel. All right, everybody has their own interpretation of that. But my question for you is, you see guys like Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, and basically this Sixers starting five changes almost every year, it feels like. But go back to that year. How was that year with just those two guys, being the new guys?
Well, Jimmy brings this completely different energy to even when he walks in the room. I mean, the guy his fashion is amazing. He's always got like the best outfit, pregame, postgame. And he's respected. The respect that he commands, and he's and he's good. Like, and plus, his whole story, like, being abandoned as a kid, and what was he, like the last pick in that draft that year, or close to the bottom, and just his story, what he's overcome, and now he's like one of the best players in the NBA. Like the first time we played Miami last year, I think it was, he came in right off the bus with a suit on and didn't go to the Heat locker room, went right in the Sixers locker room and said hi to every coach, every trainer, all the equipment people, the guards, like make sure he said hi to everybody before he started getting ready for the game, which I thought was pretty neat.
That's awesome for sure.
And
definitely, of course.
Tobias, I love Tobias.
For sure. I think that, that team unfortunately did not live up to the expectations. Got a little better. We'll see if we can keep it rolling there. But I think, of course, for that team, it was the expectations, unfortunately, were not reached. But as we start to wrap it up here, my final question for you is, what's it like this year? How is it different without fans in the stadium? Like the energy itself, how have the players responded, do you think? And, of course, from the public address side, how interesting is it to be announcing to a pretty much empty arena?
Yeah, Zach, it's a great question. It's not completely empty because we do have our Sixers ENT people behind me on the. I don't know if you can see them during games, but we have Franklin, our mascot. We got Christian Crosby, our in-house guy. We got Ghost, our DJ. We got our Sixer dancers there. We got the Dunk Squad there. We got the Sixers there. They're all spread out and everything, and we try to get everybody into the game. And Doc has even mentioned it. He likes to feel that he's like, it's way better than the bubble, because the bubble didn't have any of that. And the fans, more owners, and everyone's spread out, but that kind of part is a little intimidating for me because these guys are all my bosses, and that's all I look at. And usually they're there during the regular season, but I don't. know where they are because there's fans. So, but I feed off the fans so much when I do this gig, and you can kind of know, like even like in a close game in the fourth quarter, I get this defense chant going, defense, that's the prompt on the screen, and I'm like, everybody, defense, louder, defense, stifling, and suffocating, smoldering, self-filling, and obviously can't do that anymore. I miss that kind of stuff where I have a part in revving up the crowd, and I think we feed off each other. There's parts on the mic I'll be ladies and gentlemen. Oh, okay, maybe not. There's not really a lot of people here. All right, fans, get ready. Like whenever the Sixers take the court before real intros, when they come out for the 15-minute warm-up, fans, here comes your Sixers. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no fans, so I got to say, here comes your Sixers. Stuff like that. You got to self-edit on the fly. Wearing a mask, I get it. We got to wear them. It's a little difficult because I scream a lot. So I go through a couple masks a game because they just get soaking wet. Yeah, it's, and you don't the table with the shot clock guy, the official score guy, the time score guy, and we're all far apart now. We have to be over 6 feet, so we're yelling a lot more at each other. Like, what'd you say? But then everyone yelling at everyone. You hear some stuff that you never would hear if there were fans there, and they sometimes you'll be like, I can't believe you said that, and then I think it was Russell Westbrook in Washington. It's quiet. So that part is really strange. Fellas left on the head. I'm hoping maybe some amount of fans by playoffs. That's my goal. That'd be great.
Same here. I can't wait to get
1,000. Because you both know, Gavin and Zach, 1,000 Sixer fans is like 7,000 fans in Phoenix. So
without a doubt, no,
it's different. It's definitely different. But I do get tested for COVID like 4 to 5 times a week. So that part, it's part of the job. Since I'm down on the court with the players and they get tested every day, they want to make sure everyone is safe. So it makes me feel safe, that part. But totally miss the fans. Totally.
Well, my 2 last questions for you. One, what was your favorite fan experience from last year? Me personally, it was Luka Doncic with our guy Ethan. So what about you? What was your favorite fan moment from last year?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Ethan hitting that 3. I'm trying to think. There was Kevin Durant when he was Golden State. This is a few years ago, but this young girl who was behind me had his signature sneakers, and she was holding them up on the board. She's like, "I got your sneakers. Can you sign her business too?" He's checking in. She's like, "Hey, Kevin," and he's like, he kind of looked like he was ignoring her. And then the game's going on. And second quarter, third quarter, game's over, and Kevin Durant comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, where's that little girl that was holding up the sneakers?" I'm like, she's over there." He took off his game-worn sneakers, autographed them, and gave them to her. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, she just wanted her sneakers autographed. And he played the whole game, knew she was there, made sure he found her after the game, took off his sneaks, signed them, and you should have seen the expression on this little girl's face. She's like, what? I get your sneakers? Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And then lastly, we have a comment question, and the question is, who is your favorite non-Sixer right now? if you had to pick one.
Wait a minute, you're there. What was that, Gav? My favorite what?
Who is
I didn't hear the question.
your favorite non-Sixers player?
My favorite non-player?
Yeah, who's your favorite non-Sixers player? So someone from any other team. If you had to pick one.
Currently or past?
Either
Well, past
either
would be
way.
Paul Pierce. I always liked Paul Pierce. Yeah. Paul Pierce would always come up to me and be like, hey, man, I would never do that. And he'd always look at me. He was like, come on, the truth. And then we became friends. But let's see. Somebody playing in the NBA right now. Yeah. I mean, I love Ryan Arcidiacono. Doesn't play a lot, and he plays with the Bulls because I'm a Nova guy, and he's in town soon. T.J. McConnell, when he was with us, such a good dude. When he would hit a three, I'd call him 3J McConnell. So now when he comes in with the Pacers, every time I see him before the game, I'm like, am I going to say 3J? He's like, oh, he rolls his eyes like, I hardly take any more threes or, So there's a certain, I guess the guys that I like are guys that I kind of already with, like Dante DiVincenzo, with the Bucks. I mean, he went to my high school in Wilmington, Delaware, Salesiano. So, I made sure that we're friends. Like, dude, we went to the same high school. Whenever you say that to somebody, it's like, okay, we're friends. So, yeah, there's a couple guys like that.
Without a doubt. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. And Gavin, do you have one more thing you wanted to say?
Yeah. So, Mr. Matt, so every guest that we have on here, we have to ask them the dreaded question: who do you think is the greatest basketball player of all time, in your opinion?
Oh no. Greatest basketball player. Well, you know what? It's not done yet for LeBron. Eventually he will be, but I still have to go with Jordan. And, come on, that 10-part series on ESPN.
It's fantastic.
I just watched it. I knew a lot about Jordan. I was the last person. Yeah, I'm the last PA guy to do his last game ever in the NBA when he played with the Wizards in 2002. But I didn't know a lot about his drive until I saw that 10-part series. So I'm sticking with Jordan, but I don't think LeBron's done yet. I think LeBron's got 5 more years. And that,
possibly getting up there in age.
Not go LeBron. I mean, I'm sorry, Michael. LeBron is close. Oh, we're going any athlete?
Well, no,
okay.
I'm pointing out, like, of course, Tom Brady. Tom Brady was able to get. I mean, Gavin, of course, satisfied with that answer. I have a similar stance, I'd say, as far as I think LeBron definitely is not done yet. His legacy, not yet done, Gavin. I know you disagree with me quite a bit on that, but it's all part of the fun of the game, discussing it and breaking it down even further.
Well, Zach, when it comes for me, I just feel that LeBron James will be the greatest athlete of all time, meaning the things he's on to off the court. But on the court, I mean, you heard it, the 10-part series. I just finished watching it again for my 4th time. So, Zach, that's all I do all day. I just watch it over and over. Maybe I'll pick up his drive and be as great as him. But look, LeBron's not done, you're right, but I just think it's too late. I mean, you think about icons. Jordan, brought the game overseas and kind of made the game popular over there. Then you have Kobe Bryant. When you have people that say Kobe Bryant, everybody says mom and child. I mean, everybody was hurt for the tragic loss, including me. I just think when it comes to LeBron James, he will be known as the greatest of maybe the 2010s. But when it comes to off the court, I give it to him.
Yeah, without a doubt. With that being said, again, Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on today. We appreciate it. We apologize to anybody a little bit of a technical difficulty towards the end.
Gavin.
Thank you for joining us.
And hopefully I'll see you guys at a Sixer game soon. Come say hi.
Yeah, we hope so.
I'll do anything to get in there. I'll take 80
All right,
COVID
brother.
tests. I'll quarantine for 70 days if I have to. Have a good one.
80. All
80
right,
COVID
guys.
tests.
Take care.
In there.
For sure, everybody. Thank you so much for watching us today. Have a good one.
Have a good one, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.